All right, Rory, time for some overreactions then. The Premier League season is done and dusted. Chelsea have got a brand new manager. We'll get on to him in just a minute. But the first overreaction, Harry Kane's 30 Premier League goals for Spurs is a better achievement than Haaland's 36 goals for Manchester City.
It's a very interesting debate, and I do think that there's something in it. The easiest thing to do here is to just dismiss it. Go, no, Haaland, of course Haaland. But I do think that there is something incredibly special about what Harry Kane has done this season, particularly when you look at the form of those around him. He has carried that club on his back almost single-handedly. Like, he is responsible for that club finishing in the top half. I have absolutely no idea where they would be without him. Maybe we'll find out next season. I hope we do. But no, I think you can argue that Kane's goals and just overall performances. Remember, he's their finisher, he's their provider, he is the face of that club, he is the personality of that club. I don't know who they are without him. I really don't. And it's one thing for Haaland to be scoring goals with the juggernaut that is City facilitating him. You know, Pep Guardiola working out how to get the best from him, Jack Grealish creating space for him, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva creating assists for him. Riyad Mahrez jinking on the wing and making sure that he puts it on a plate for Haaland. Of course, finishing it is impressive, and the volume of goals probably gets my vote here. But what Harry Kane has achieved this season is just mesmerising. It really is mesmerising, and it's got to the stage now where he just needs to leave. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this about a Tottenham centre forward, but even I like him, and I want the best for him, and I think he needs to move on. So it is a slight overreaction, but there is definitely a debate to be had, Kane or Haaland.
Well, that comes from someone who earlier on said that he doesn't like things that have been tainted by Tottenham or something like that. Speaking of things allegedly tainted by Tottenham, Mauricio Pochettino will not last the season with Chelsea next season.
Yeah, that's not an overreaction. To say that Mauricio Pochettino won't last the season, there is an incredible back catalogue of history that can teach us that at Chelsea it's very difficult to preserve your employment status if things aren't going particularly well. Sometimes it's very difficult to preserve your employment status if things are going well. You know, you've got to think, Chelsea have in the past sacked Champions League winning managers when things aren't going that badly. It's a strategy that has delivered an awful lot of silverware, but does leave a hollow, bitter taste. You know, sacking Frank Lampard, sacking Roberto Di Matteo, sacking Carlo Ancelotti in the tunnel at Goodison Park. It isn't what football should be, and it does erode your soul. Of course, winning silverware helps and makes you feel better about it, but you know, when you form such a connection with somebody like Carlo Ancelotti, he wins a double and then he's sacked in the tunnel. It's just disrespectful. So I don't like it as a principle. And the new lads, Clearlake, Bowley, Egbali, they've come in and they've sort of raised what Abramovich was doing. Like, Chelsea had 4 managers last season, didn't they? Like, it's ridiculous. You know, from Tuchel, you've got to remember there was that Bruno chap who had a game. He went unbeaten. He's probably our best manager last season. Into Lampard, it was shambolic. You know, it really was shambolic. And they have proved as well that they aren't shy about sacking managers. So I don't think it's a bold statement to say that Pochettino won't last the season. They also they've only given him 2 years. So they've certainly learnt from their mistakes, giving Potter 2 decades. So no, I don't think it's an overreaction, John. I think there's something in it.
Let's stay with the shambles then. Chelsea should bring back Romelu Lukaku next season.
Right, Romelu Lukaku can't come back to Chelsea. He just can't. I've got a terrible feeling that Pochettino's going to come in and say, clean slate for everybody. Let's have a look at everybody. And the sad truth is, Romelu Lukaku is the best striker currently on Chelsea's books. The best striker that Chelsea have at our disposal at the moment is about to play in a Champions League final. It's actually the microcosm of everything wrong with Chelsea. Chelsea aren't in Europe and Lukaku is about to play in a Champions League final. So obviously he gets in Chelsea's team. Obviously he's 10 times a player that Kai Havertz is. You know, Kai Havertz is so delicate. He does nothing. He doesn't contribute. He does nothing. I genuinely believe that Kai Havertz this season hasn't impacted the result of any game that he's played in. Like, the result would be the same whether he was there or not. So, of course, Lukaku is a better option than Havertz. Of course, he's a better option than Amanda Broja. But I think that principle should dictate what happens here. And Romelu Lukaku, on principle, should not have the luxury or the privilege of representing Chelsea ever again. But I think he will, because he's a £100 million asset. And I have a terrible feeling that he will be leading the line for Chelsea. And I also have a terrible feeling that Chelsea fans will be singing his name, something that should never happen, but I think they'll be singing his name. He scores 2 goals on the opening day and everything's forgotten.
Must be weird to be a Chelsea fan having your best striker and your best central defender playing for different clubs this season. But, you know, that's the Chelsea way. Next one, Luton will break Derby's record low points total in the league next season, which is 11 points, by the way.
It's going to go one of 2 ways. It's really going to go one of 2 ways. I went to the playoff final. I was at that game and they were terrible teams. Like, really, really terrible teams. Like, I don't watch that much Championship football. And I was surprised at quite how poor they were. Like, I really was. But there is hope for them because they're so... You know the way that Wigan stayed up? Or Huddersfield stayed up? Blackpool went down, but they made a good go of it, didn't they?
Did they not do 2 back-to-back?
No, I think Blackpool went down on the last day at Old Trafford. But they made a good go of it. They should have stayed up.
We all remember it as being
they accrued a lot of points,
yeah.
and they should have probably stayed up. And look, I wonder if Luton, just their home form, you know, 10,000 compact ground. I've seen that away in far too many times on social media. But I wonder if they'll be able to pick up enough points at home. But they're really going to have to vastly improve their squad because there was some really bad play. You know when I was at the game at Wembley, and you know when you're just sort of like, it's 5-yard passes, lads. Like this is the basic, like the absolute basics of the game. That if you don't get these right, when you come to the Premier League, you're going to be absolutely battered. Yeah,
I mean, I was at the semi-final when they played Sunderland, and
I was gutted about that.
Sunderland were a much better team, but Sunderland injury hit.
Yeah.
Also, Sunderland just looked so tired compared to them. You know, at the start, Luton were making these passes, and you're wondering who on earth they were thinking they were passing to in the first place.
Yeah.
But by the end of the game, it was Sunderland doing it just through fatigue, and it's be interesting to see. Anyway, the final overreaction, and we don't have much time for this one. Man City will not win the treble.
It's painful to say this, but Man City's treble pursuit is now more likely than unlikely. It's more likely that it happens. I still think there is a huge chance it doesn't, just because the probability of doing a treble makes it so unlikely. But they basically win 2 games now, and they're playing 2 teams that they're certainly better than. They're playing 2 teams that they should outgun. It's just about the pressure. It's just about whether they are going to be up to it. And, you know, Inter Milan, Mourinho won a treble that year. They know what it takes to win silverware. In Europe, Man City currently are irrelevant. I have a terrible feeling that they're going to put it right, but we just have to hope that Guardiola overthinks it, or Manchester City as a club get starstruck in the occasion. But they're definitely going to beat Manchester United, aren't they? And I think the treble will happen. I really don't want them to do the treble, you know.
It's fine. It's fine.
Is it?
Don't worry.
Is it?